So, so now we're going to get into the uncomfortable spot of the conversation, which
Right.
is, you've been at it 34 years. You've got years and years of experience. I'm sure you've tried many things that maybe didn't work out or turned into like really dumb, goofy ideas. I mean, that's my story for sure. So I'm wondering for the L&M family out there, what is a significant learning that you've had that was the result of a painful misstep?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot, but one that stands out the most for me, because it was a daunting day at Southland for me. And I was fairly young in my role. And there was a big job we had in San Francisco, and it had all this steel that we had to get galvanized, so it was a coordination effort, and it had these different types of welding procedures that we needed to perform on it. And I completely, it was like over my head as far as really the details of what needed to get done and how. So we, without realizing it, we took the shortcut of getting the things galvanized. They weren't connected like they were supposed to be, and we were missing some weld parts on it. And then we sent it to the job site, and immediately I got a phone call. I was in this big meeting from one of the senior project managers, and I didn't get to answer the phone because I was in this meeting. But then when I went back to listen to the voicemail, I had to keep the phone about, a foot away from my ear because he was freaking screaming at me for what an idiot I was and
Mm.
our team for not doing this correctly. And I just immediately just I was angry, but then I was ashamed, and all these different emotions at the same time. Then thinking about how do I respond back to this guy. So I gave myself time to kind of figure out, collect my thoughts and figure out what I needed to get done to try to mitigate the issue and all that. Um, so I did that, tried to do analysis of what happened, what was the breakdown, all those things. And then when I called him back to talk about it, he had already had a solution. And this
Oh,
whole irate behavior was over, right? It was just for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
but I had no idea that he was in a better space. So it was good. So I talked to him and we figured out what we need to get done. But what I learned, and it was the details of my role. It was one of those wide opening moments for me to really discover how important it was for me to make sure that my team understood details that we didn't take the time to really look at these drawings and understand the type of welding that needs to happen to these steel structures and all that. We thought we had it done and we were like, all right, good job. And
Mm.
it was completely the opposite of that. So it helped me to really slow down, to dig into the details, because I knew that my decisions were going to have a bigger splash than say a foreman kind of making a decision on the job on the project. It was me as an overall leader not making sure that we kind of combed through the drawings and really understood some of the things and forced us to ask some questions we didn't ask and get some clarity on some things. Didn't do that. And so that was the last. I literally thought I was going to get fired, because it was a
Yeah.
huge mistake, right? But it was a lesson learned, and it was a big lesson learned for me. And from that day, it was making sure you really, really comb through the details of drawings. You challenge what your teams are saying and thinking about their process or next steps. And because you know the impact if you don't, right? And you can't blame anybody but yourself. It's like, hey, these are your drawings. You need to go through them. And if you don't do it in a way that, protects your company, it's your fault. You can't say
It's,
somebody else didn't do it. You didn't do it. And then it comes back on me as an ultimate leader. It's like, I can't blame my guys. I can't blame them all. I can't blame the team. I got to blame Henry. And that's really one of the eye-opening things for me as a superintendent was raising my level of awareness about leadership and really understanding that in this industry, it's really easy to blame other people for stuff that you should do, but recognizing how just that is not effective, and how it really doesn't work at all. But when you take responsibility and say it's my fault, you look in the mirror versus looking out the window, right? It's really
Mm.
about that and taking responsibility. So that was one of the big missteps for me early in my career that I continue, to keep close to remind myself and others of how important it is to dig in the details and understand and be responsible, because you're the one that people look to when things fall apart.
So I heard a few themes in there. One is display the behaviors you seek. But
Mhm.
if you're the leader, you got to show what it is you're asking for. You got to live it. The other was get into the details and ask the questions. Like if you don't go and comb through it and really dive in and seek to understand what is attempting to be communicated and ask questions about that to clarify, it lends itself to missing each other, disalignment. And in this case, it was probably a 3-minute cussing, screaming, yelling voicemail.
Yeah,
But how many times does that play out in our personal lives at home with our loved ones?
yeah,
Or in my case, with all my exes,
yeah,
because I didn't listen to the details and I didn't ask any questions.
yeah,
And it just played out in that, what's the word? Erosion of the relationship
yeah,
because I didn't put in the time to understand the conditions of satisfaction and the expectations and the requirements. It universal